This is the Creative Market Free Goods Roundup for the week of November 23rd, 2015. There are 6 awesome free goods this week, but they are free this week only. So if you see something you like when you watch this video, just check out the description of this video where I'll place a link to each one of these 6 different free items. So first up here is Goldish, Gold Styles. So this file contains a ton of different stuff that I'm going to go over fairly quickly here. So it includes a bunch of different EPS files with some hand-drawn type. I should note that this type is outlined, so you can't go in here and change what these words say, but there are quite a few different options included. There are actually 9 different ones in total for you to go and pick from, so these are 4 of those 9, but feel free to go in and check out all the different ones that are included when you actually pick this item up. And also included as EPS files are these different splatters. So here are 2 of them, but there are also 9 different splatters in total in this pack for you to go in and check out. So this is a really neat way to go in and add some additional customization to your work that you use with this type to create a much more hand-drawn look. The hand-drawn type obviously pulls it off very nicely, but doing this can add that little bit more. If you were to do something like drag this type over these splatters, it looks like it was made with a brush and then kind of splattered around a bit. And I'm inside Photoshop because they include a .asl file, which is a styles file for Photoshop. So to get that, you go to Window and then Styles. Near the bottom right here, after you go ahead and install those styles, they do include instructions for you to go in there and do that. Alternatively, if you just double click on the ASL file, it'll usually install it in Photoshop. Or from the Styles drop-down menu right here, you can go to Load Styles, click that, and then just select the goldish.asl file included in the download. And then when you open up your Styles palette, near the bottom of your Styles window here, there'll be a bunch of different gold swatches. So if you select something like, for example, this custom type with these dots that I copy and pasted from Illustrator here, I can just click on these different gold styles and it instantly applies them to the type. It makes a really cool custom gold look that's very easy to customize and change as you continue going through all the different options here. As you can see, as soon as you click, they pretty much apply, so that makes it really fast to go in here and make some cool custom stuff with that gold look. And with the holiday season coming up very quickly right here, styles like this will work really well on things like greeting cards or gift cards, whatever you kind of think will work the best for you. And of course, it doesn't have to be holiday related. These styles are very popular right now, so you should get a whole lot of use out of all of them. And they also include all these different textures as JPEG files. So if you want to use the gold textures without using this built-in style file, you can go ahead and do that. And then they also include a ton of different patterns. In this pack, as a total, there are 10 different PNG patterns that are seamless repeats, so that's a nice bonus as well. So this is one of them right here, and this is just the raw pattern that hasn't been repeated, but you can repeat all these if you want to do that. Like I said before, there are 10 of these in total, and they also all work very nicely with these included gold patterns, so you can go ahead and overlay these gold style patterns on them if you want to, if you think that looks pretty cool. Some of them work better than others, but certainly this one right here is a pretty cool mix of this gold texture and then this really neat pattern that's included. So like I said before, this is just a very small sampling of what's included in this pack because this pack is so large. So if you like what you've seen thus far and you think you get a whole lot of use out of this one, just be sure to grab it this week while it's still free. Next up is Ginusto Family. These fonts are provided in OpenType font format, and I have them opened up inside Illustrator here to show them. So there's 4 different versions in total. 2 versions like this right here are in the solid, and then there's 2 dotted versions as well. And the primary difference on these is the way the lowercase letters are handled. So one version has the lowercase letters, which is this version right here, as a much more standardized, typical lowercase, where the other version or the alternate version has the lowercase letters as small caps. So either way, the uppercase letters are going to stay consistent, but the lowercase ones will switch from a standardized lowercase to a small caps lowercase like the one on the right here. The same exact thing applies to the dotted versions. So as you can tell, it includes both lowercase as well as uppercase letters. If you look at the uppercase letters, they look a bit crazy because they tend to intersect with each other a lot when they're typed up into a line. But since you should really never be typing out a script font in all caps anyways, I don't really see this as a problem. If you do for some reason want to do that, you'd have to go in here and kind of custom kern everything a little bit to make sure they look good when they're actually lined up like this. But as you can see right here, when they're typed up into an actual sentence, they look very good. And that's why the kerning is the way it is, so that letters like the R and the O of Roundup are nice and close together and look good when they're actually typed out. I'll just go to the top here and zoom in on these lowercase letters so you can see the kind of texture or distressing that is around the outside edges here. So it has a kind of a torn paper look almost to it when you actually zoom in here a little bit closer. That gives it a bit more of a handmade appearance than if these were perfectly smooth. It doesn't have much of any texture on the inside, so all the overall texturing is just on the outside of the letters here, and the same thing applies to the uppercase variations as well. And as you can see right here, it does include all the numbers 0 through 9, and then a bunch of different special characters as well. I'll just highlight this quick and then go to type and then glyphs so you can see everything that is included. As you can see here, it does include a bunch of different accented marks, so if you're using a Latin-based language that is not English, you should be fairly well covered with the use of this font. And like I showed before, here's Free Goods Roundup typed into a sentence. It has a really nice handmade feel to it with some pretty distinct characteristics because of the way those uppercase letters are handled. So as you can see, they flow very nicely with the lowercase letters next to them, which sometimes when you have fonts that have a huge descender like on this R right here, they'll tend to stick out a bit more and look a bit out of place, but that doesn't really happen with this font. All the kerning and spacing looks pretty darn good. And like I said before, they do include versions that are just dotted as well, so if you're looking for something a whole lot more stylistic but a little bit less readable because of it, then this is an option as well. And alternatively, what you can do with these, if you don't want to use just the dots, I'm just going to try to align these somewhat decently right here so the two overlap. Then I'm going to change the dots to be white instead of black. So you can see that you can make a customized version of this font by going ahead and doing that. I'd suggest if you do want to do this, just hit Control-C or Command-C on a Mac and then Control-F or Command-F on a Mac to paste in place, and then switch the font to one of the dotted versions so you get this kind of cool dotted overlapping effect. And also included here that actually shows off that dotted effect a little bit are a bunch of different special vector elements that you can go ahead and apply and arrange around your type as you see fit. So this is a really good example that they've went ahead and pre-made for you, so you could either use this example exactly as it is, just replacing the font right here with your own font, or pick individual pieces after you ungroup them and then rearrange them as you see fit. You might have to ungroup this twice since each one of these sides is grouped up on its own, but it should be pretty quick for you to go in here and kind of customize some different elements to make your own arrangements of really cool things to put around your type. But that's it for this font. This is a really cool hand-drawn looking font that also has these bonus little dots that you can easily put over your letters to give them an even more customized look. So if you like what you see and you'll think you'll have some use for this font, just be sure to grab it this week. Next up is Paquarito Business Proposal. Now I'm going to be going over this one fairly quickly because I couldn't get it to load properly inside my InDesign. So this is actually a proposal template for InDesign. It includes both A4 as well as US letter formats. And then inside there's an InDesign file as well as an IDML file, which is sort of the backwards compatible version for InDesign. When I tried loading up these files, it said font loading and would just get stuck on there for pretty much ever. So I don't know if that's a problem with my computer or my InDesign, but you can certainly leave a comment in the comment section if you download this and have the same issue or don't have any issues at all. That might be helpful for some other people to know. But it does include a link to download all the different fonts that are included. I'm just going to go over this preview image pretty quick since I think it does a very nice job of showing what to expect here. So as you can tell, this is an extremely professional looking document that has images that overlap the spine right here, and then all the type is laid out very nicely and all the images and colors are very bright. So I think this is a pretty cool example layout right here as far as showing what you could possibly use this for. And although this is really meant for a business proposal, I think the layout is strong enough to work as a magazine as well. So if you want to use this as a magazine layout, you might want to take out stuff like project timeline, but overall I think the layouts are strong enough to work on that sort of editorial look as well, if that's something you want to go for. But I'll just keep on scrolling down here until we get to the bottom. But as you can see right here, it's a very consistent, very professional looking theme overall. So like I said before, I had some issues loading this up on my computer, but I also use a third-party font management system, which I think might be the culprit for some weird stuff going on for me. So just leave a comment if you do or don't have issues to let other people know. But I think this is a very, very strong layout that works not only as a business proposal layout, but also as a very strong editorial layout if you want to go in and use it for something like that instead. So if you like these preview images and you think the actual item might be of some use to you, just be sure to grab it this week. Next we have Yolk Lightroom Portrait Presets. So this is a collection of 19 different presets for Adobe Lightroom, and I have this image from unsplash.com loaded up right here to apply these effects to. So this is the stock image, and then right here I made a presets folder full of these presets I'm just going to quickly apply to this image. so you can see how they look. And I chose one of a person because this is labeled as a set of presets for portraits. So as you can see, these have some pretty pronounced effects that give a very golden hue to the photo right here that used to be much more desaturated in its nature. So this is a very powerful set of effects, and I think in part the reason it's applying this much color to this photo is because this had a lot of black in it. This was a very dark photo, at least the background was very dark. So because of that, it highlights things like the face and the shirt quite a bit with some really nice golden tones. This one in particular seems to work really well on this photograph. It almost looks like a statue, particularly on the hands right here, where that gold effect is very pronounced. But I'll keep on going through all the different effects here so you can get a good idea of what to expect. Some like this one right here are much more subdued than some of the previous ones, so if you're looking for something not quite as powerful, you can just go through here and keep using different presets until you find one that you think looks the best on your particular photo. As you can see, it's as easy as just clicking a button to make these apply to the photo in question. And of course, if you don't want to use this on a portrait, if you want to use this on a landscape, or even bring in a design image and just see how it kind of looks as it overlays there, that could be a really cool way to go in and work. And of course, using this sidebar over here, you can adjust things like the temperature or tint to customize these that much further and create looks that you might like even more. And then you can of course customize even further down with exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, all the stuff that Lightroom gives you for customizing your photos. But that's it for this set of Lightroom presets. I think it's a pretty darn cool one that gives some very statuesque effects when applied to people. It might also have some really cool looks on different landscapes and stuff like that. So feel free to go in there and really play with this one and see what you make with it. So if you think you'll have some use for these Lightroom presets and you want to pick them up for free, just be sure to do it this week. And next up is gold and white holiday stock images. So this pack is very straightforward. It includes 4 different JPEGs of very minimally themed holiday objects. So this is the first of the 4, and they're all different sizes by a little bit, but for a good rough estimate, if I go to image size, this one's 3800 by 3800 pixels, so plenty big for pretty much anything on the web and a lot of print applications as well. So here is the second one, and the theme of this one is really meant for Instagram, they said, because they're all square images. So what the description on the product says is this is really good for overlaying custom type on top of it. So let's say you're doing something like a Christmas sale or a holiday sale of some sort, and you want some images that are appropriately themed, but also give you plenty of nice white room to go and overlay text on top of. Perhaps there's another free good this week that has the gold styles where you could apply that to your text and then use the gold text on top of it right here, which will fit very nicely with the golden candles that are shown on these images. So this is the 4th one. Once again, plenty of room for white type, a little gold object where that gold type would look pretty cool, and then a white Christmas tree right here. But that's really it for this set. It's very nice and simple. 4 different high quality JPEG images of holiday themed items, perfect for Instagram in particular because they are a square format, and also very nice for overlaying type on to do things like call out Christmas sales or holiday sales, as well as anything else that you might want to convey very quickly. But that's it for this pack. If you think you'll have any use for it for this upcoming holiday season, just be sure to grab it this week while it's still free. And last up for this week is 9 vintage logo designs. So these files are provided in a bunch of different file formats, including transparent background PNGs, Photoshop files, Illustrator files shown right here, as well as EPS files. And there's 2 different sets. There's the main logo set, which is shown right here, as well as a raw elements one that has the different badges and ribbons. And as far as the PNGs are concerned, the badges right here and then the ribbons below it are in 2 separate folders, so be sure to check those out if you want to use the PNGs. And I'll just focus on this one right here first, which is the main logo files. So the overall design of these is very clean, but it has kind of a roughened or more vintage looking effect on them, so it does pull that off pretty nicely. It is something really important to note here though, that all these fonts are outlined. They do include links to the fonts that they used, so if you want to go in and download those fonts and figure out what fonts are what, you can recreate these, but you will have to make sure to like ungroup these different files until you're able to select just the type, remove it, and then add in your own type on top of that. So you can't easily go in here and just highlight the word retro, for example, and then retype it. You'll have to figure out which of the 4, I believe it's 4 fonts that they use on this particular set were used, and then customize it to apply to whatever it is that you're working on. So that is something to kind of keep in mind when you use this. That is much more of a layout example that will require a bit of customization if you want to actually change out all the words and make this your own. And like I was shown before here, these are all the different badges up at the top here. So there's a nice selection of hand-drawn looking badges. I think they pull off that hand-drawn look pretty nicely because they have both the wavering edges that give them that kind of a imperfect hand-drawn look, as well as quite a bit of texture on the inside without being too much in the middle so that the badge still maintains its overall shape and integrity quite well. And then there's also a bunch of ribbons down at the bottom here for you to select from and use, same as the badges up top where they have that wavering line on the outside, and then some texture missing out of either the middles of some of these or for the most part on the outsides of these to give them that bit more of an imperfect or pen-drawn look. That'll really help pull off the handmade or vintage appearance for you. But that's it for this pack. Remember that the Illustrator files aren't all that's included. There's also PNGs and Photoshop files and then EPS files. Just be sure that you do keep in mind that this type isn't editable, so you will have to download the free fonts where they do include links for those, but you'll have to be the one to go in here and customize that on your own. So if these look like something that might be useful to you, just be sure to grab this pack this week while it's still free. So that's it for this week's free goods, and do remember they are free this week only. So if you saw something you thought might be useful for you, just be sure to check out the description of this video where you'll find a link to download it. And as always, if you like this video, please like and favorite, and if you want to see this video every week, please subscribe. This video is released every Monday to let you know it's free this week on Creative Market. Thanks for watching.